That was on me.
With the second ringing of our peace bowl, we affirm our collective hope for peace. We acknowledge that the lands that we love are the ancestral lands of the Yavapai people, the Wikipayas, the Tolkapayas, and the Quivkapayas, and the Yavpai. We are pleased to have our Granite Peak singers under the direction of Karen Denny this morning, and let us enjoy our gathering music, Make Us Instruments of Peace. Thank you, Karen, and the amazing choir. On this good fall morning, welcome to Granite Peak Unitarian Universalist congregation on this rainy, almost Prescott day. I'm Kelsey Wilkes, and I am your worship associate today, and we extend a warm welcome to all, and I love seeing lots of new faces today. We're glad you're able to join us, and we hope everyone is in good health. This is the mission statement of this congregation. We are a compassionate spiritual community that celebrates diversity, nurtures the personal and spiritual growth of all ages, shares our gifts, promotes justice for all, and serves the world we live in. Please join us after the service for coffee, socializing, and meeting new people in Davis Hall. And for those on Zoom, you will be able to join a breakout room. If you're joining for the first time, please check us out at prescottuu.org. If you're in here in person, there will be a time at the end of the service to introduce yourselves, and I'm going to do it a little differently today just to keep you guys on your toes. We want to thank our pianist Lena Hubin, choir director Karen Denny, the choir, and all of our Sunday morning volunteers. If you would like to be a Sunday morning volunteer, we need you, so please talk to me after the service. Now, if you would please take a moment to put your phones on worship mode, that would be much appreciated. In addition to the announcements that we're showing on the screen before the service, you can read about what's happening at Granite Peak in the weekly Peak News or on our website, and copies are printed in the foyer that you can pick up. Sandra Palacios, our Faith Development Director, is teaching children 5 years and older across the street, and we do have a nursery for the littles here in this building. We begin our service in the Unitarian Universalist tradition of lighting the chalice. Our chalice lighter this morning is Charlotte Skews. Today we light the chalice with these words attributed to John Wesley. Do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, as long as you can. For those in the sanctuary, please rise and body your spirit, and we will sing number 1. You don't have to turn very far in that hymnal. May nothing evil cross this door, and the words will also be on the screen.
Let's say our covenant in unison. Love is the doctrine of this congregation, the quest for truth its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community. Thus do we covenant together. Joys and concerns.
Our beloved community is the heart of Granite Peak Unitarian Universalist congregation. As we experience a time of meditative music, we will take a few moments to silently acknowledge the joys and concerns in our hearts and on our minds. If there's an event that moves you to a joy or a concern, hope or gratitude, I invite you to come forward and silently place a rock in one of our bowls of water as an affirmation of our connection to one another. I will begin with a sorrow and a joy. A memorial service for Joanna Hawley, who painted the principles that adorn this congregation, will be held at Granite Creek Park from noon until 4 p.m. today. And my joy is the Interfaith Choir. So some of us got to go to Sedona yesterday and listen to these amazing women of courage. I've heard it 3 times. I will keep going and going. Thank you very much. May our joys and concerns, surrounded by the healing communal water of our beloved community, be acknowledged here today. So may it be. Please sing these words of comfort and meditation on breathing. The choir will be leading us. Thank you. You all did great. As we prepare to take our offering this morning, let us embrace the feeling of connection and community that we have when we gather here each week. The congregation and its programs are supported by your generosity. We also give back to the greater community with our seeds of support. This month's recipient is the Neighborhood Outreach Christmas Giving. You can read more about it in the order of service, and we will be reaching out to you to assist us. For those of you on Zoom, there's a link on the chat that you can make your donation. Please enjoy our offertory music, Song of Yah. That was lovely. Thank you, Lena. We acknowledge the generosity of spirit expressed through your offering. What is given in love is received in gratitude. Blessed be.
Thank you. My colleague, Reverend Jane Jepka, who is retired now living in Massachusetts, wrote the following in 1989. She said, "I worked in family planning clinics for 6 years in California. In these times, when violence erupts in response to the availability of abortion, I want to speak about it. My first job," she said, "was counseling. After a woman's positive pregnancy test, we would talk about the options. Maybe she was thrilled. Or maybe she was horrified and knew she would choose to abort. Or she may have needed to wrestle with her beliefs, emotions, and circumstances before deciding. In any case, it was my job to help her sort things out. Later, I rotated through the other jobs, assisting in the operating room, coaching, and cleaning up. Other times, I was a clinic supervisor, worried about the narcotics, the lab reports, how to deal with an irate family member, how to tell a 16-year-old that she was far too far along for an abortion. I became very opinionated. I developed strong feelings about every aspect of abortion, from instrumentation to post-operative care. But not once, never, did I form an opinion about what a particular woman should do. Did she make the right decision? I never knew the answer. I never knew the answer. I couldn't know or see or predict everything, so I couldn't know the answer. A woman's decision is sacred turf. No advice can be given. We each formulate an opinion from our own little corner of the world and act on it with integrity. The best we can do is to protect the right of each of us has, to choose of our own course, to make our own decisions about parenthood. Knowing our own limitations, accepting the humility that comes with being human, understanding that we do our best in an imperfect world. May we love and accept each other above all else.
There's a light in the darkness, and this light will never fade. It's a vow of hearts connected. It's a promise that I've made, that in time of misfortune, I'll be there to hold your hand. I'll be there to share the burden, and together we will stand. We will stand with you.
Thank you. What a great choir you have. So in 1962, I was 11 years old, and I had a younger brother who was 2 years old. There was a TV show on 5 days a week, a half-an-hour TV show called Romper Room. How many remember Romper Room? In Phoenix, it was syndicated, so it was a local show, but it was in cities all over the United States. The host of Romper Room in Phoenix in 1961, 1962 was Miss Sherri, a very attractive 30-year-old woman. And it was exciting for me because I was attending the Phoenix Unitarian Universalist Church as a child, and Miss Sherri, Chesson was her maiden name, which she went by, and her husband, Bob Finkbine, they were attending the church also. And so occasionally, when I was on my way to some religious education class, I would see this television personality in the church going in with her husband to attend the worship services. So, Sherri Chesson was the mother of 4 children, and in 1962, she gained the attention, unwanted attention, of the entire nation. The year before, her husband, Bob Finkbine, he was a high school history teacher at Arcadia High, had chaperoned a group of high school students on a European tour. And while in Europe, he purchased an over-the-counter sedative and brought the remainder home. Chesson took the pills in the early stages of her 5th pregnancy, unaware that they contained thalidomide. When her physician found out that she had been taking these, he recommended that she obtain a therapeutic abortion, the only type of abortion permitted in Arizona at the time. Well, Sherri Chesson felt that this was such a huge health issue that she should do something to let other women know. So she contacted the newspaper, the Arizona Republic. She was assured that her identity would be kept secret. However, the media identified her as Sherri Finkbine, although she didn't use her husband's name. And following the paper's publication of Chesson's story, the hospital administrators canceled the scheduled abortion in Phoenix. Chesson was fired as host of the children's TV show Romper Room. She borrowed money from friends while the whole nation watched this, and news articles appeared on a regular basis. And she and her husband flew to Sweden. There were photographs of her getting on the airplane and arriving in Sweden, where she obtained a successful and legal abortion. The fetus was badly deformed and would not have survived. Today, historians say that the termination of Chesson's pregnancy was a pivotal event in the history of abortion in the United States. It changed public opinion. Many Americans felt that this young woman should not need to fly all the way to Sweden to get a therapeutic abortion. So for 11 years, our society debated how abortion laws should be rewritten. Then in the early 1970s, this debate reached the United States Supreme Court. The 9 male justices discussed and negotiated the issue for more than 14 months before reaching a decision. And their debate was a miniature version of the larger debate that was going on across our country. William Douglas William Brennan and Thurgood Marshall argued strongly in favor of striking down the abortion laws because the laws violated the rights of women. They told their colleagues, if the right to privacy means anything, it is the right of the individual, married or single, to be free from unwarranted government intrusion into matters so fundamentally affecting as the decision whether to bear or not to bear a child. Douglas, Brennan, and Marshall took most seriously the rights of women. Potter Stewart and Harry Blackman argued in favor of striking down the abortion laws because the laws violated the rights of doctors. They told colleagues, some anti-abortion laws inhibited doctors' abilities to exercise their best judgment. Since state licensed doctors are professionals, the laws should not interfere with their judgment on behalf of their patients. So Stewart and Blackman took most seriously the freedom of the doctor to make professional judgments. Lewis Powell argued in favor of striking down the abortion laws because the laws sought to legislate what Powell believed was essentially a religious and not a legal question. He told his colleagues, in these moral issues, each person must be free to follow their own judgment and should not have a judgment imposed on them by force of law. So Powell took most seriously the right of freedom of religion. Brian White argued in favor of keeping the abortion laws because the fetus was a human being. He told his colleagues, I have doubts about allowing a woman to get rid of an unwanted child on a whim or out of caprice. The court should not value the convenience of the pregnant mother more than the continued existence and development of the life or the potential life that she carries. So White took most seriously the rights of the fetus. William Rehnquist from Arizona argued in favor of keeping the abortion laws because the federal court should stay out of areas not specifically mentioned in the Constitution. He told his colleagues, the constitutional right to privacy is based in the 14th Amendment, which was adopted in 1868. At that time, at least 36 states or territories had laws on the books limiting abortions. It does not appear that the framers of the 14th Amendment intended to bar the states from regulating abortions. The federal court should not interfere with states' prerogatives. Rehnquist took most seriously the rights of individual states. Warren Burger consistently argued in the debate in favor of keeping the abortion laws. But Burger had a pattern in which he would realize the direction that a decision was going in the Supreme Court. And because he was Chief Justice, if he was in the majority, he would be given the authority to write the final decision. So 3 days before the court was to release the final decision, Burger decided, on narrow grounds, to vote to strike the two laws before the court. He told his colleagues, the Texas law should be struck down because it does not permit abortions in instances of rape or incest. The Georgia law should be struck because of the complex steps in the law requiring hospital board certification. So Burger took most seriously the details of the two particular laws before the court. The combined views in this decision resulted in a decision supported by 7 of the 9 justices. The decision, announced in January of 1973, had 3 specific elements. 1, in the first 3 months of pregnancy, women were free to have an abortion. 2, in the second 3 months of pregnancy, state governments could restrict abortions, but only restrict them but could not restrict them if the abortion threatened the mother's life. And in the last 3 months of pregnancy, state governments could outlaw abortion except when it was necessary to preserve the health of the mother. Now, under the court's 1973 decision, medical centers were not forced to give abortions, doctors were not forced to do abortions, and women were not forced to have abortions. Everyone could live their lives in keeping with their personal convictions. In 1973, as a 22-year-old at Arizona State University, I naively thought that the issue was settled. Yet the controversy raged on. There were bombings and there were murders. I was serving as the minister of a church in Bethesda, Maryland, when on Friday, July 29, 1994, physician John Britton was murdered in the parking lot of a family planning center in Florida. Retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel James Barrett was also murdered while acting as a volunteer security escort. Now, I knew Lieutenant Colonel Barrett. He had attended worship services at my Bethesda church. His wife, my friend June Barrett, Lieutenant Colonel Barrett's wife, was also active at the Unitarian Universalist Church in Bethesda, where I served as minister. A public health nurse who had worked in Appalachia, June Barrett was committed to the right of women to make their own decisions about their pregnancies. She was wounded in the attack, and she was in the back seat of their SUV when the attack came. She was covered in blood, and she believes the attacker assumed that she was dead, and it's why she survived. He thought she was dead. 9 years after the murders, June Barrett came to me to talk with me in my office in Bethesda, to talk about whether June would accept the invitation from the state of Florida to attend the execution of the man who had murdered her husband. Well, I told June of my opposition to the death penalty. June said she didn't share my opinion. She wanted to be there. She felt that she owed it to her husband to be present at the execution. However, in the end, because there were so many delays, she did not attend. The night of the execution, I called her to see how she was doing, and she was fine, she said. Now, my stories are unique to my role as a minister. I know that many of you have your own unique stories about this issue. Most women and many men have struggled with this issue. And I suspect there are a variety of opinions within this diverse congregation. My own view, which in this church you are free to agree with or to disagree with, is the same as Justice Powell. He said in 1973, in these moral issues, each person must be free to follow their own judgment and should not have a judgment imposed on them by force of law. So I believe the law should be as broad as possible if it needs to exist at all, for only then can a person who confronts a moral dilemma be free to make a choice. If the choice is abortion, then the law of the land should not require subterfuge, the risk of arrest, or long, expensive trips from one state to another. So I do all I can to support women who struggle with this issue, for they are the only ones who can make the decision that is best for them. I also believe in promoting sex education, including birth control education, to make fewer abortions necessary. Our Unitarian Universalist sex education program for young people was first created back in 1970, and it is an example of how to make abortions rare. The decision to have an abortion is a hard, personal, private decision, and it is made much more difficult by the 2022 Supreme Court decision to reverse Roe v. Wade. They declared that the constitutional right to abortion, upheld for nearly half a century, that it no longer exists. In response, for the past 2 years, state by state, voters have been changing their state constitutions to protect the right to abortion. Abortion has been on the ballot in California, Kentucky, Michigan, Vermont, Kansas, and Ohio. In each state, those who oppose abortion have lost. A clear majority of voters believe that this is a private, personal decision and the state should not interfere. This November, 10 states will consider ballot measures to expand abortion rights. Colorado, Florida, Maryland, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New York, South Dakota, and Arizona. Now, I am registered to vote in Maryland. By mail-in ballot, I have already voted yes to support a new article in Maryland's Constitutional Declaration of Rights, establishing a right to reproductive freedom. The proposed constitutional amendment here in Arizona would create a fundamental right to an abortion up until fetal viability, or about the 24th week of pregnancy. After that point, the measure would bar the state from restricting abortion in situations where the health or the life of the pregnant woman is at risk, according to the treating healthcare professional. It needs a simple majority of support to pass in November. So I urge each of you who are eligible to vote in Arizona to read the proposed constitutional amendment and vote based on your own best judgment. Even if the proposed state constitutional amendment passes, in this and other states, the debate about abortion will continue. And I will continue to respect the rights of others to follow their own moral convictions in their own lives. At the same time, I will continue to condemn the coercion and the intimidation used against women. In the words of Justice Powell, in these moral issues, each person must be free to follow their own judgment. Let's sing our closing hymn, Just as Long as I Have Breath.
Answer yes to
invite you to join with me in our extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
I'm doing something different today. For those of you on Zoom, are free to join a breakout room. And those that are here for the first time, I know there are lots of you, and I would love to come out, which I'm going to do. I'm going to come into the audience and see who would be willing to introduce themselves. And I don't want to force you, but I just might pause somewhere because I see some new people. Would you like to introduce yourselves? All right. You just give us your name and where you're from.
Hi, I'm Dee Wegwert, and I live in Cottonwood. This is my husband, Joe. I'll let him talk in a minute. We're longtime UUs, and we're visiting Prescott.
I'm Joe, and I'm with her.
Very, very nice. I know I met some other lovely people. Would anyone else be willing to introduce themselves, like maybe Colleen? Anyone else willing to introduce themselves? Over here. I like this. This is fun. Just your names and where you're from.
Well, I'm Don Mandrel, and I'm from Pittsburgh, and I belong to the Sunny Hill UU in Mount Lebanon, PA.
My name is Douglas Halwerda, and I'm visiting Prescott because I have family here. And I'm also making a presentation, author talk here on Saturday next week about the book I've written called Living from the Inside Out. I'm a psychotherapist who lives in Vietnam, and this book is a reflection of the work I've done there that includes Western and Eastern views of how it is that we gain awareness of ourself and ultimately self-acceptance. So it's very much in line with the things I'm hearing today, so thank you. It's here, 4 o'clock on Saturday next week.
And that is in our announcements, so you'll be able to see it. Anyone else? All right, if you see people with a hand-printed name tag, please spend some time with them when we have coffee, which would be lovely. These are our switching back. Do you got me? There we go. Okay. These are our closing words. They are from Macy Basil, a doctor of Oriental medicine. Achieving something that I thought was impossible gave me a new feeling about who I am. I have a different kind of faith in myself. I don't get easily discouraged because I know that with the persistence, the right idea will unfold. Nothing seems beyond my reach. I know that with courage, I can follow my heart no matter what. Thank you. You are free to listen to the music, greet Roger as you go back to have coffee, and thank you for being here today.